Hey, 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 happy Thursday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by Misty Mountain Gaming. We will talk about our sponsors in just a few moments. But welcome aboard, everyone. Tonight is Thursday, August 28th, 2025. This is live show 1229. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And then we will normally take a first look at a game. Now, most of the time we're paging on through a role-playing game release, but every once in a while we will unbox a board game, or in tonight's case, a card game, as we're going to be taking a peek at Necromancer from our friends over at Kobold Press. Yes, a card game from Kobold Press. We will be taking a peek at that in just a bit. If you are tuning in for that first look, do want to remind you that we always tackle the tabletop gaming news first around here. Probably going to be about 40 minutes before we start taking a peek at Necromancer. So just letting you know, if you're watching live, kick back, put your feet up, relax, enjoy yourself. Yeah, come on, it's Thursday. It's almost the weekend. Now, of course, if you're watching this after the fact, possibly on Memorex, there are timestamps. So you can find those down in the show notes, or depending on the device you might be watching this on, right there in the timeline of the video. So if you don't want to check out the latest in tabletop role-playing game news, you'll be able to jump ahead. But I got to say, a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff we're going to be talking about tonight. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And of course, because this is a live show, there is chat available. Now, you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least an hour before you can take part in chat. So I keep most of the really unusual commenters at bay. But if you check that box, you've been a subscriber for over 60 minutes, and you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my very best to respond. First out the gate tonight is Semper Buffo, followed by Sean O'Donnell. DB is with us. Michael Berry is joining us, as is our good friend of the show, the Madman. Yes, and I would not be surprised if the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D is lurking in the shadows as our other chat moderator, she of the glittery banhammer. So let's talk about this week's sponsor. That's right. The Dispatch is being sponsored this week by Misty Mountain Gaming. They are in the midst of their Pathfinder and Starfinder launch party, which is celebrating the new line of officially licensed Paizo Inc. gear, which includes dice, backpacks, hats, notebook and pen sets, hoodies. If you watched last night, you saw me sweating my butt off in a hoodie. Very nice hoodie. It's a little too warm. I've been wearing it last night. Hey, I took one for the team, right? Somebody had mentioned in chat, they said Jeff's taking one for the sponsor. I'm like, yeah, yes, I did. But there are also t-shirts, which you'll get a closer look at one of those in just a moment, and plenty more. Now, be sure to swing on by for the launch party before September 4th, because you'll be able to score the pre-order pricing on the entire lineup of goodies for Pathfinder and Starfinder. So it's not just one or two items here or there. Everything has a pre-order price during the launch party. And if you want to get a closer look at one of the t-shirts, this is the Pathfinder t-shirt. It does have the classic player core artwork from Wayne Reynolds right on the front, and then across the back, across the upper portion of the shoulders, it says Pathfinder, which I was kind of surprised because with the hoodie, it was the exact opposite. We had Pathfinder across the front, and then we had this artwork on the back. I should also point out the hoodie did have the pocket in front and like the kangaroo pocket that most hoodies have. Yes, it did have that. Probably forgot to mention that last night. Sarah D is with us, said they put the glitter away tonight, working with needle and thread and craft foam, which might be close to glitter as far as mess factor. So I see that DB is with us as well as W Forge. Very nice. Before we jump into the news, I do want to wish my best friend Elliot Miller and his wife Laura a very happy anniversary. I'm pretty sure Elliot's not watching tonight live. He has been catching the show live after dinner. I guess he has dinner right before the show starts, and then he kind of gets on his treadmill and works out a little bit while watching the early portion up through the intermission. So, okay, well, that's cool. That's why he actually popped in last week. Was it last week or was it on Tuesday's show? Sometimes these shows just run into one long stream. No, they don't. But, you know, a lot of times I don't recall exactly what show, if it wasn't the show prior, what show something may have happened. Maybe it was Tuesday's show that Elliot popped in live. Yes, the voice of E. So, once again, big happy anniversary to Elliot and Laura. I think, is it their 20th? Or maybe they met 20 years ago. It's been a long time. So, J-Man and Age of Adventure are swinging on in. So, welcome aboard. I do see Tessie Trekkie has also popped on in to chat. So, and in chat, folks are wishing Elliot and Laura. Elliot with 2 T's, 2 L's, 2 T's. In fact, way back in the day when we had the podcast. Now that's going way back. That's almost 15 years ago. Although I think we did the podcast for a couple of years, maybe a little more than 2 years. So everybody would always misspell Elliot's name. So he came up with a little song, and it was Elliott Miller. I don't know why I remember that. It's not my name. Still. Well, Lotus Cave is also joining us. But hey, talking about anniversaries, there is a new print run of the 20th anniversary edition of Deadlands, as well as an audiobook, which is crowdfunding over on Backer Kit. I've got the scoop from Pinnacle Entertainment Group. Classic never goes out of style. This is the best version of Deadlands Classic, with art lovingly recolored by top artists. Deadlands Classic was an innovative role-playing game in the 1990s. The poker-inspired mechanics enhanced gameplay because of their iconic representation in the American West. It won every major award the industry had to offer, and then some. Here's a few reminders about those classic Deadlands rules. A standard deck of playing cards with the jokers left in is used for initiative, as well as for hucksters to deal with the devil or the marshal to determine the outcome of your character's transition to harrowed. You even use a deck of cards to build your character. Hope you come up better than aces, partner. A set of poker chips in white, red, and blue mixed into a fate pot are drawn blind by players and marshal alike, and when spent, they go back into the pot. You gotta work for those legend chips. Dice? Deadlands Classic uses all of them and lots of them. It's not uncommon to need 5 or 6 sets of dice from D4 to D20, and yes, they ace. When you roll more ones than anything else, you go bust, and your character fails catastrophically. Rolling the bones is not always a metaphor in this game. Part of the character build process is to figure out what scares your sodbuster the most. Your worst nightmare can most certainly come true. Wind is a derived statistic, used rather like hit points. Wounds knock you down a few pegs. And the game marshal, I should say game master, is called the marshal. Yes, they are not the game marshal, they are the marshal. That is the game master. And the characters are the posse. Some things have stayed the same. Deadlands Classic also uses traits, edges, and hindrances. One book has all the information needed to play. Players and marshals read the front, and the marshal reads the last half to figure out what makes the West so weird. And gotta point out, this book does not, I repeat, does not require Savage Worlds or Deadlands Reloaded in order to play. Right now, you can score the hardcover, the PDF, as well as the audiobook for a $69 pledge. If you want to just grab the PDF and audiobook, you can do so for a $29 pledge through September 12th. There are a lot of different pledge levels. I'm just telling you the main ones. So this is a backer kit, so lots of luck searching around to try to find an estimated fulfillment date, because I certainly could not find it. But here's something odd. Maybe odd, maybe not odd. Distributors out there are indicating that the hardcover second print edition of the 20th anniversary edition of Deadlands is going to ship to stores next month. Well. Kind of curious. I heard someone had commented, you know what? I think this was actually on the backer kit itself. I saw this because I was trying to find when is the expected fulfillment. But like most backer kit campaigns, you can't find it. Yeah, it's not like when you're taking a look at a Kickstarter, it's like, oh, right there in the pledge, it says, oh, this is when it's expected to arrive, huh? Nope. But somebody had pointed out, they said, you know what? I bet you it's just all of the unsold copies of the 20th anniversary edition as far as the first print run. And I thought, well, it is a possibility. You never know. Because I think the bigger deal here with this backer kit project is the audiobook. So there you got. So kind of interesting. I do not have this. I do not have the 20th anniversary edition of Deadlands. I did have the original Deadlands. I have the new edition, the Suede edition of Deadlands, which I like quite a bit. I think the adventures are really linear. And that's kind of a Pinnacle Entertainment thing, that they do plot out their adventures without a whole hell of a lot of wiggle room. But, the reality is a good game master, they can railroad players and make those players not know they're being railroaded. So there is that. Max Apocalypse has joined us in chat, said they worked at a wholesale distributor, a gaming distributor, So they probably had some of those first copies of Deadland books for sale in their hands back then. So there is some discussion. The Madman's kind of our Savage Worlds expert. So he's discussing some things that he likes better with the classic Deadlands as opposed to Suede. On to our next news piece. Brotherwise Games is currently taking pre-orders for the Cosmere RPG, The First Step. And I got the skinny. Step into the world of Roshar. Ordinary people must rise and become heroes in this unique adventure for the Cosmere role-playing game. The First Step is a Session Zero adventure in which players begin with blank character sheets. As the story progresses, each player's choices determine the character they create and the fate of a convoy ambushed by a vengeful shard bearer. This adventure contains basic rules required for play, but a copy of the Stormlight Handbook will complete the experience. The First Step can also serve as a prologue for the Stonewalker's Adventure, which is also on the horizon. This Level 0 adventure is a great starting point for the Cosmere RPG. Create your first character in the Stormlight campaign setting while making important decisions during a life-threatening scenario. This will also include a free download link for a solo version of the adventure, probably a pretty good way for players as well as game masters to learn the ropes a little bit for the Cosmere RPG. Right now, you can pre-order the 44-page softcover, which will include the PDF, for $14.99. It has an expected release date in October. If you want to just score the PDF, you can do so right now over at Drive-Thru RPG for $10. Gotta say, I'm still awaiting Sammy's review of the handbook, the actual rule book. She has sent me the review for the world book. I have not even taken a peek at it yet because as I had emailed her back, I said, I kind of need the core rule book review first. But I'm curious. I'm curious what Sammy's going to think of it. I would take a wild guess, understanding Sammy's taste. She would probably like it more than I would. But then again, I haven't really taken too deep a dive into this either. So who knows? I might get a kick out of it too. It just feels a little too narrative, a little too focused on narrative, and maybe not as much as far as crunch. But then again, I could be absolutely wrong. Maybe I'm just kind of reading this incorrectly. The vibe I get from it may be absolutely incorrect. Apocalypse says they know their nephew and his friends are jazzed about this Cosmere game. So maybe they have the youth. They're like 30 years old. Kathy Evans has joined us in chat. Good to see you, Kathy. Moving right along. December is going to bring Dungeons and Dragons Eberron, Forge of the Artificer. Got the latest from Wizards of the Coast. Spark your imagination. Waken your potential as Master of the Forge with the revised Artificer class. Forge and use wondrous creations as you adventure through the magic-fueled city of Eberron. Eberron Forge of the Artificer introduces the revised Artificer class, now updated for the new core rules and with 5 subclasses, including the new Cartographer subclass for you to explore. What's next? The paper hanger? Yeah. Cartographer, huh? Yes, all the action's going on. Hold on. Let me map this. I'm just joking. Build your Artificer, choose from over 40 imaginative player options, and fuel your adventures with an inspiring fusion of technology and magic. Your rules will be found inside this expansion, including 4 revised artificer subclasses. Wait, what? This is their info, right? This is how it reads. It includes 4 revised artificer subclasses. Okay, now I get it. And 1 new subclass, the cartographer. Got it. I got it. I was like, wait a second. So it's got 4 subclasses and 1 subclass? I was like, what, huh? I get it now. I see where my eyes went wrong. 5 revised species, 17 backgrounds, as well as 28 feats. There are new spells, bastions, and magic items. 3 distinct genre-based campaign templates for building fantasy noir, political thriller, and pulp adventure campaigns in the world of Eberron, as well as over 20 new monsters, each inspired by a campaign model. This 112-page hardcover is going to carry an MSRP of $39.99 when it arrives on December 9th. Yes, it was a delay now because there were some printing problems. In fact, if I remember correctly, I think the covers were warping. So they sent them all back to have them reprinted. Now, if you want to get the physical and digital together, you can score that bundle over at D&D Beyond for $49.99. So there you got a little bit of Eberron. We talked a little bit about the 2 Faerun releases that are coming out in November. And now this was actually, I think, supposed to hit in November as well, before the problem with the, I guess we'll say, quality of the finished product. So there is that. We'll see what happens. So yesterday I talked about how how do I want to phrase this? The jury's still out, in my opinion, on this new wave of D&D releases. And one of the main reasons why is this, for one, strangely feels like Wizards of the Coast is trying to promote new Dungeons and Dragons as like a board game, right? Like that starter set. They're saying it's a board game. If you look at the covers of these releases, they say like expansion, like player expansion, Dungeon Master expansion. It's sort of like this is a splat book. Not that they're going to refer to it as a splat book, because a lot of publishers kind of poo-poo that term, right? But that is what it is. It's a splat book. I don't know. So what really has me on the fence is the adventure book, which I was going to share a news piece about today. And then I realized, oh, you know what? I've already shared a news piece about the Faerun adventures. And I mentioned this when I shared the news piece right after Gen Con. All the adventures are 1 or 2 pages in length. Those aren't adventures. Those are encounters. I can't see how, because remember, we're not talking about AD&D modules, which we kind of chatted about yesterday, where it was like, oh my God, just imagine how much adventure was packed into 8 pages. No, that's not the case here. This is going to be a lot of, oh, here's all this read aloud and everything else. I don't know. I also kind of get the feeling that there are a good number of publishers out there who are trying to trim down the expectations of a game session. where, we see it nowadays where it's like, oh, well, this adventure should take about 2 hours to play. I've said it time and time again. If all we have time for is a couple of hours of me running a role-playing game, I don't want to run a role-playing game then. I would rather spend a couple of hours playing some board games. Because to me, just a couple of hours is, no offense to anybody out there. I'm sure many of the GMs out there are going to feel the same way. Only having a couple of hours to play a session is kind of a waste of my time and energy. Because I do prep. And I know that's another thing too, where it's like, oh, no prep, no prep, no prep. It's another thing that they were really pushing at the Dungeons and Dragons press event prior to Gen Con when they were talking about this adventure book about, oh, you're not going to have to prep. Oh, you're just going to be able to pick the book up and play. I don't know about you folks out there, but with the sheer number of average to bad game masters out there, I don't necessarily know if I'd want to sit down and play in an absolute no prep. Because the reality is there are not a lot of fantastic game masters out there. There really aren't. So anyway, like I said, jury's out. We'll find out. They're supposedly sending this stuff for me to be taking a peek at. So we'll see if they stick to their word or not. Max Apocalypse said it's the new Shoeshine subclass. Somebody else, I think, made a Lamplighter too. And Nate15E, I tell you, I can never figure out what these are supposed to represent. Well, we'll just say Nate is with us in chat. I think that's the only new person who floated on in. Oh, I see Chris Lundgren's with us. Good to see you, Chris. DB says, sounds like they're trying to make it easy for new dungeon masters and attempt at addressing that DM shortage. I think they'll still have a DM shortage. You know what? Let me finish up the news, and then we will chat a little bit about the game master shortage out there. I know our next news piece. Goodman Games has released the first issue of X-Crawl Insider in print and PDF, and I've got the deets. Get the inside scoop on the exciting world of extreme dungeon crawling with the XCC Insider. Need to know which DJs are hot and who are not? Looking for advanced warning on what horrible monsters your team might face in their next X-Crawl event? Seeking career advice about the lucrative world of extreme dungeon crawling? You'll find all that and more in the pages of X-Crawl Insider. X-Crawl Insider #1 is the first in an ongoing series of X-Crawl Classics role-playing game supplemental material from the fans. This inaugural issue includes material submitted by XCC backers, as well as contributions from Brendan LaSalle, creator of X-Crawl. Inside, you'll find 6 DJs, nearly a dozen new magical items, 4 new spells, 9 new monsters, new divine disapproval tables, a recap of the Gen Con 2024 Save X-Crawl tournament, plus an all-new PC class, the Dungeon Hottie, that you're actually taking a peek at right this minute. So don't be a scrub. Get your copy of X-Crawl Insider #1 today. The 26-page softcover with PDF carries an MSRP of $10.99. You do have to order from Goodman Games to get that combo. If you just want to score the PDF alone, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $7.99. I would like to take a peek at X-Crawl Classics. This new edition that they had crowdfunded. Kind of curious about it. I understand it's sort of like it's dungeon crawling, but it's all supposed to be like televised, and the player characters start out as, I think they kind of start out as nobodies and trying to become like stars and stuff. It'd be kind of fun. I would think that it would make for a pretty nice one-shot, maybe a la a fantasy Running Man sort of vibe, or maybe a relatively short campaign. Kind of cool. There are plenty of adventures out there for it too. So that is something for you to keep in mind as well. Speaking of adventures, there is a new adventure which is available right now for Troll Lord Games' Amazing Adventures. And I've got the lowdown on Comrades Free Fire Zone. Somewhere, sometime in the future, catastrophe has come to Earth. Leap from your bunker with what supplies you can carry strapped to your back, stuffed in your pockets, or carried in your bare hands, because the world's end has come to your door. One resounding explosion has cut the water to your little world, and catastrophe looms. The walls you built no longer matter. The food you've rationed, though it too has almost run its course, will do nothing for the water you need. No, the only hope for survival lies beyond the steel door of your home-turned trap. And beyond that door, the rat-a-tat-tat of machine gun fire and small explosives creep even closer. Get up and move, or spend your last few days with bloated tongue and madness. Enter now the Free Fire Zone and know that here, everyone is a target. This amazing adventure scenario is designed for 4 to 6 players of first level, customized by the Chronicle Keeper. The 20-page softcover carries an MSRP of $10.99. If you want to just grab the PDF alone, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $6.99. So yes, we are actually going to get an opportunity to take a peek at this, because I actually got my order in with Troll Lord Games. We've got a few items, rather than just like all 15 items that have come out since I wasn't covering Troll Lord Games for a while. Rather than just have a flood of all that stuff just arrive in one wave of boxes, we are going to take a peek at a few at a time. So we do have the starter set. So we got the starter set. We've got a new supplement for the Codex of Erde, which is the setting for, it's the default setting for Castles and Crusades. There is a Castles and Crusades adventure, as well as this adventure too. So there you go. So we will actually get an opportunity to take a peek at this. I will probably just share a review. Probably won't actually dive on in to do like a first look video. But who knows? We'll see. We'll see. Of course, keep in mind, we will have a first look video at the starter set. So stay tuned for that. I'm not sure when it's going to arrive. Just put the order in today. So we'll find out. Max Apocalypse says, it seems to have that finish to it, like AI. I don't know. I got to be honest. I saw that there are art credits. So normally when there's AI artwork, there are no art credits. I don't know. I'm hoping it's not, because you know what my policy is. I do not share coverage of stuff that's got AI. That's why I have not talked about the 2 hostile bundles of holding that are going on, because they use AI artwork, and they've said straight out, yes, that they use AI artwork. And it's like, okay. All right. Max Apocalypse says the interior art looks like it's human made. Yes, it certainly does. We'll have to take a peek. We'll find out. We shall find out. I'm hoping it's not. I don't know. I don't know. All right. So that's it for the news tonight. Now, I did mention DriveThruRPG a few times. Of course, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you're going to go visit Drive-Thru RPG, Storyteller Vault, Dungeon Masters Guild, Wargame Vault, any of the drive-through sites like Drive-Thru Fiction or Comics, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get 5% of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up to help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you find the Gaming Gang to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, there are a couple of more ways that you can help support the outlet. First, by making a one-time donation by way of PayPal. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Refreshing. Or you can become a monthly member of our Patreon, and you will find links to that down in the show notes. Also in the show notes, you're going to find an invite link to our Discord server. So be sure to hang with the gang over on Discord. I will be adding the Looking for Game channel in the members only section of the Discord server this weekend. And if you're curious, how do you get into the members only section, which you don't need to like pay to be part of the Discord server. There's a lot of stuff that is not behind like a membership, but that is going to be behind that. And all it is you need to be a member of our Patreon. Speaking of, I always like to give a shout out to all of our Patreon members during our live shows. So big thank you to the $5 tier members, Gustavo Covalho, Jason Lawman, Koval, Kevin R. Smith, Sean O'Donnell, and Talzek. We also have our $10 tier members, Matt W., Dan Webb, GameCat, Pete Strakulich, RPG Munch, Tessie Trekkie, and Tier 2 DM. And then last but not least, our $25 tier members, The Madman, as well as Agile Monk. So thank you, everybody. Much appreciated. All right. So tonight, as I mentioned, we're going to be taking a look at the card game Necromancer in a little bit. But we were just talking about the dearth, I guess we'll say, of game masters out there. I'm kind of curious what those of you in chat think. And we're not going to delve too deeply into this. But I'm kind of curious why you think there aren't enough game masters out there. Myself personally, I think, this might make some people mad, but I think that part of the reason is that more and more potential players and potential game masters out there have gotten to be more and more self-absorbed. So that's why if you know a lot of game masters out there, if they run games for a lot of different people or different groups, I hear people talk about how comparing 10 years ago to now, how much bigger pains of asses players have become. Whereas you used to have players who'd just be like, man, sweet, we got somebody to run a game for us. All right, let's play. Let's have a good time. And I think part of this is the fault of role-playing game publishers out there. The focus on everything, not everything, but to me, it seems out of balance, where it's like, it's all this player-facing stuff. And then if you're the game master, well, maybe you luck out and you get some materials to help you out. But for the most part, most of the content that comes out that sells well tends to be player-facing, player character options and all this other stuff. And it just gets to the point where there's just so much juggling that the game master has to do with all of this stuff that, you know, a lot of people, they just don't want to deal with it. So I don't know, that's just kind of the impression I've got. You know, because I've heard stories of game masters running stuff and, you know, players just you know, they just want to have their moment in the sun. They don't give a shit about the adventure. They don't give a shit about the adventuring party or the rest of the players around the table. It's all like, hey, I got to get my time in. Chris Lundgren says, I think 5.5 is not an easy system to run. It's complex compared to other systems. Also, the image of CR makes people nervous that out of the box, they have to be, oh, okay, critical role. I figured that's what you meant by CR. Also, 5.5 has so much products that are overwhelming. Actually, there's not that much out there for new, not new Dungeons and Dragons. New, not new, I should say. Oh, see, I messed it up. DB says most people start with D&D, and D&D 5e is actually pretty hard to run. It's a lot easier to be a player. Oh, yes. So easy. So much easier to be a player. Sean Dowell says, I do see very little real teamwork. Yeah. I don't play. Well, okay. So my nephew, he just turned 24. He just had his birthday last week. But, you know, my brother is older than I am, and Elliot's 6 months older than I am. So the majority of the players around the table are not kids. So I will see my brother and Elliot and Cameron by extension work together to come up with ideas, come up with plans. But even the one playtest game that I was in at Polar Vortex for Starfighter 2nd Edition, it was like all the other players around the table were just focused on what their character was going to do. When it was their turn in the initiative order, what were they going to do? Not, hey, so this is how we should approach this. And funny enough, the game master kind of was promoting that as well. Because he's like, oh, you know, you all don't have to stick together. You can all you can all separate and go in different ways to look around at different stuff. And I was like, wow, really? You're telling us to split the party? Man says from their experience with their own kids and their friends, they want instant gratification. They wanted to get right to the excitement. The buildup was too boring to them. Yeah, I could see that. Funny enough, we played, and this is not a knock on my nephew's girlfriend, because she's actually played some games with us lately. We played Flip Tunes from Thunderworks Games, which I really like. And to me, is a pretty quick moving little game. You know, you play like 15 minutes. Even with 4 players, it was like 15, 20 minutes. We were done. And my nephew Cameron asked what she thought of it. She's like, oh, it was fine. It just was kind of slow. It was like kind of slow. I was like, okay. But, you know, she's also someone who spends most of her gaming time playing like Fortnite. So I guess I could see, or it'd be like, oh, well, you know, that's kind of slow. Chris Langren says, if D&D 5.5 was an easy system, then why are there literally thousands of videos to learn how to run it? I also didn't mention 5th has a lot to take in product-wise. Yeah, well, 5e, there's where do you start? Now, I mean, if you throw in the third-party stuff, people's heads explode. But why are there literally thousands of videos to learn how to run it? It's because people want to make money off their views. That's why you got all the D&D content out there. That is the reality. I hope people understand. There are a lot of content creators out there who make exclusively Dungeons and Dragons content who really don't give a shit about the game. So it's just, that's what they do because that's what pays the bills. Anyway, but I'm just kind of curious. DB says, I always tell my players to split the party. I also tell them it makes them easier to kill. Well, yeah, of course. Chris Langren says running combat for D&D can take a long time versus some old school Renaissance. Some OSR games combat can run a little longer than I enjoy. So here's something else that's pretty funny, and then we'll wrap this up. It had been explained to me by someone from Wizards of the Coast, this is years ago, with 5e, that 5e combat was designed so combats would run about 3 rounds and that would be it. And I thought, what are you smoking? Like 3 rounds? Well, if that was the design philosophy, you failed miserably at it. So Chris Lundgren says, yeah, Jeff has a valid point. However, they succeed as channels due to learning. 5.5 is not easy out of the box. No, it's not. It's not. Well, we're going to see a new starter set for new Dungeons and Dragons. Maybe, hopefully. We're going to, if it arrives, we'll take a look at it. I will review it. And I will probably run it just to get a feel. I'll get the gang together and run it so I can tell you how well it works as an actual introduction to playing and running the game. Not that, oh, here's these cool cards and stuff like that you can just, add to your collection. Sharon Dahl says, ironically, Strixhaven's encounter design is closest to meeting the raw standard. That's pretty wild. Stray Kismet's with us in chat. Kathy Evans says it can be intimidating running games for friends, especially when they have more experience doing it. See, and I would think running a game for strangers would be a little more difficult. I'll tell you what, running a game for 2 people who are dating and arguing, that ain't no fun. I'll tell you that right now. Yeah. Chris Lundgren says, a reading character creation for Call of Cthulhu, and it's a bit crunchy, still easier than 5th or 5.5. Well, you also have to remember, basic role-playing, any percentile system, actually, it's just more intuitive. It's more intuitive to say, okay, well, you've got a 30% chance of succeeding at this. You've got a 50% chance of doing this, as opposed to, okay, so roll this 20-sided die. I'll tell you if you make it or not. It's like, oh, I got 13. Is that good? Is it bad? I don't know. Right? Desi Trekkie says, Into the Odds derived combat runs super quick. No attack rolls, low HP. Most combat lasts 1 to 2 rounds max. Maybe one day we'll actually do another topic episode. We'll talk about combat and role-playing games. And I think part of the reason why so many combats run way too long is that the game master just does not understand the concept of not everything is going to fight to the death. Not every single person would be fighting to the death. They don't use morale. They don't, most of the time, they don't do any sort of like possibility of a parlay after combat has started. Right? Hey, we want to give up. We surrender. You know. Max Pocklet says, oof. Yeah, having the hosting couple sniping at each other during games on their way to divorce was a thing they had to deal with for a bit. Yeah, pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. All right. So just floating that out there. I do think that we have fewer and fewer gamers out there who want to take on the responsibility of having to entertain other people, investing time, even when it's like, oh, there's no prep involved. Yeah, okay. No prep tends to not be very entertaining. And I know there are a lot of people out there who swear by all their random tables, but when all you focus on, all you utilize are random tables at the table, then that's what you get, just randomness. Anyway, but and they can do all these different things. Think, oh, well, the adventures are a page long and it's only an hour and a half. You're still going to have a problem with having enough game masters, having enough dungeon masters out there. All right, so tonight we're going to dive on in. We're going to take a look at Necromancer from Kobold Press. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
Sprite, beech nuts gum.
By beech nuts, by gum.
Sprite, improved Sprite gum.
By beech nuts, by gum.
By gosh.
No, by gum. By beech
By beech
by
nuts,
gum.
by gum.
By fruit
By fruit Sprite,
by gum.
by gum. Yikes, Sprite.
By beech
By beech
by
nuts,
gum.
by golly.
By gum.
With 5 different flavors, with extra flavor for the whole family in every stripe.
Luscious lime stripe.
Lip smack and lemon stripe.
Delicious orange stripe.
Mixed fruit and cherry stripe. All for you in every pack of beech nut fruit stripe gum. By beech nut,
By gum.
by tea,
By gum.
by king,
By gum.
by gosh.
By gum.
And there's extra flavor for the whole family in every scrumptious stripe.
More flavors to choose. More flavors to choose.
The flavor starts lively.
The flavor stays lively. By beech nut.
By beech nut, by gum.
By gum.
By gum.
Beech nut fruit stripe for the whole family. By gum.
Hello, grocery store? Send me some Wilkins instant coffee. How instant can you get?
Hi, gang. It's your old buddy Sugar Bear. I can't get enough Super Sugar Crisp. And that's twin-hulled airboat. It comes in Super Sugar Crisp. Line the propeller and let her rip. Look at him cut across the water. Got rubber band power. Airboats are born racers. Uh-oh, splash-a-roo. Come in 3 groovy colors. Get racing. 1 twin-hull airboat in each specially marked box of Post Super Sugar Crisp and Frosted Rice Crinkles.
It's the exciting new Daredevil Trick Track with the incredible Dolphin Racer, gear-driven for longer battery life. Daredevil Trick Track, full of fantastic tricks. A sensational new steering track. A wall of logs. A teeter-totter. And it's up, 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 and over we go. A somersault flip. And now, straight through a fly-apart house. Get Daredevil Trick Track, action-packed with tricks and tracks. It's thrilling, spilling, crashing, smashing. Daredevil Trick Track from Transogram, where the fun comes from. Wow!
Somewhere in the future, a man from the past
Find McCloud and kill him.
is all that stands between life and death.
There simply isn't enough energy on the planet to take down the shield without killing us all.
The world is dying, McCloud. The shield has to come down.
Greetings, Highlander. You cold? Rather glad the magic works.
You got a light?
Let's have some fun.
Remember, you called me.
Just remember, the quickening.
It sounds like magic.
Well, it is, kind of.
Christopher Lambert, Sean Connery, Highlander 2, The Quickening.
The text at the end of that trailer, I swear, it almost looks like it says Highlander, the Chickening. What? Oh, what an awful film. What an absolutely awful film. And I know part of it has to do with the editing. Yeah, I get it. But I don't know. I'm not really sold on that reboot of Highlander that's coming either. Yeah, I don't know. One last thing, real quickly. WForge, I think they were referencing random tables, and they said it's called emergent play. I disagree. Now, if using random tables to kind of spur your imagination as a game master before, you're playing, before your session, whatever, I'm all for that. I think that's a great idea. Just rolling random dice as a game is going on, to me, that's not emergent play. Emergent play, to me, is when you have set situations and well-rounded NPCs. Then I think that leads to lots of really fantastic emergent play, but just simply rolling on a variety of random tables. So I had to laugh. I want to say it was the last time I was a guest on Stephen Glicker's stream for Roll for Combat. He had me come on, and the topic was random tables. And he said, well, we had you on because you're, obviously a fan of random tables. And I said, no, I'm not. Where did you get that? It's like, well, you really enjoy OSR stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but not necessarily random tables. That was kind of funny. You'd have thought maybe they'd let me know what the topic was before they put me on. Anywho, today we are going to dive on in and take a first look at the new card game Necromancer from our friends over at Kobold Press. The game is for 3 to 5 players, ages 10 and up, plays in 30 to 60 minutes, and carries an MSRP of $29.99. Swing on over to the other camera, because here I've got Necromancer. A few things to mention, of course, before we dive on in. The fine folks over at Kobold Press were kind enough to provide me with this review copy. But neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this first look with you. It's important for you to know that. We're not going to look at each and every card either, but we're going to get an idea of how this plays. So Max Apocalypse is already mentioning Munchkin. From my understanding, Steve Jackson Games, at least a representative of Steve Jackson Games, was very interested in this. In fact, one of the first things they asked was, I think his last name is pronounced Kovalik. If it was John Kovalik's artwork, and they said no. And they're like, well, you know, that game looks an awful lot like Munchkin. And I'm like, no, it's got nothing to do with it. Seize ultimate power. You are a sorcerer commanding dark legions. Fools who do not understand your work try to thwart you at every turn. Those do-gooders, rivals, and other busybodies keep interfering with your wicked plans. But someday they'll see, oh yes. Necromancer is a fast-paced, strategic card game where you wield tremendously silly powers of fathomless darkness. Summon ghouls, ghosts, and zombies to raise an unstoppable army, or sacrifice a circle of underlings to seize the well of eternal life and declare victory. Your only obstacle? The pitiable cretins who think themselves your equal, other necromancers. All righty. So it is showing here playtime 45 minutes as opposed to 3260. So we got the rules. This must be the well of eternal life or whatever that was. Okay, so little punch board here. We got some dagger tokens as well. These look like character cards. And then we've got 3 decks of cards here. We'll get those out. And then, of course, tuck box. Let's take a look at the rules. Necromancer, dig up a few friends. It's the Handbook of Supreme Necromancy. You are a sorcerer commanding dark legions. Fools try to thwart you at every turn. Okay, so that's what we just read off the back. What is a necromancer? Necromancers wield powerful magic to bring the dead back to life / no, that's redacted there. Usefulness. As a necromancer, you must gather a legion of minions and undead to reign supreme or sacrifice minions at the well of eternal life. In the game, there are 2 ways to claim victory. The well of eternal life contains secrets and dark magic. By sacrificing your minions there, you claim the power for yourself and live eternally. When you sacrifice your 5th minion at the well, you win. Necromancers are show-offs, and size matters to them. To intimidate your rivals, you must raise or make an army. At the end of your turn, if you have 15 villainy points in your legion, you win. So these are sacrifice tokens. Those are character cards, so I was right about that. I want to say this game is designed by Wolfgang Bauer and Jeff Quick. W. Forge says they're thinking of Phil Foglio. You know, it wasn't too long ago. There was a Girl Genius. There were a couple of Girl Genius bundles of holding that were going on. So we got 150 cards. We've got 6 villainy point skeleton cards. Play your 8 cards. So we're going to set up our discard pile, our well of life, a tomb. Guess this is the crypt. This is our Legion play area. Okay, so it says set aside the 1 VP skeleton cards and sacrifice tokens. Choose a character card. Put the rest back in the box. Shuffle all the cards. Deal 5 to each player to form their starting hands. Then place the deck face down. That is the tomb. You draw 4 cards, put them around there just like that. Okay. The Well of Eternal Life goes in the center of the table. Look at the number of bones on your character card. Take that many cards from the tomb and tuck them face down under your character card. These are bones in your boneyard. When one of your minions or undead is defeated in a raid or by a card effect, put it face down in your boneyard. When an effect tells you to play a bone, that means take a card from your boneyard and discard it. Each player places one undead card from their hand into their legion. Ignore any text on the card for now. If you don't have an undead card in your hand, what kind of necromancer are you? Do you even lift, bro? Discard your whole hand, draw 5 new cards from the tomb, and try again. And whoever watches a zombie movie or TV show goes first, they are the active player. So if character cards, so these are our different characters. Hubert the Paladin, you started out chasing and smiting skeletons and zombies. You want to keep smiting skeletons and zombies, but everyone at the temple is telling you to climb up the value chain and smite the people who create the skeletons and zombies. Seems worth a try. It's kind of funny. So we got our undead cards, our minion cards, spell cards, item cards, and we also have ongoing effects. Defeat versus discard. Both words start with a D, and if you're reading fast, you might get them mixed up. Don't be that necromancer. Defeated cards go to the boneyard. Whoever controlled the card when it was defeated puts it in their own boneyard. Discarded cards go to the discard pile. There's only one discard pile. Everybody shares it begrudgingly. So players will take their turns in clockwise order. Step 1, sacrifice. If you have one or more minions at the well, you can sacrifice them. To sacrifice minions, remove them from the well and stack them face down in your legion with a sacrifice token on top of the stack. When you sacrifice your 5th minion, you win. So let's talk about different locations you'll be playing cards to. So you've got the boneyard, discard, your hand, your legion, the tomb and crypts, and the well. Doesn't seem that difficult to figure out. You can raid. You can choose to attack an opponent in a raid. When you do, announce who you're attacking and a location, either their legion or their cards at the well. Then assign any number of minions or undead in your legion to attack. For each attacking card, the defender must assign a minion or undead card to defend against it. All attacking minions and undead that face a defending card are defeated. All defending minions and undead are defeated. So they go to your boneyard, to the respective player's boneyard. However, a minion with an attached item can discard one item instead of being defeated. An attacking card that faces no defender returns to its legion and is not defeated. You can't raid yourself no matter how much you want to. Raiding at the well is similar to raiding a legion, except the cards that attack here and face no defenders stay at the well. The first player to attack the well has it easy. Raiding at the well is a one-way trip. Only one player can have cards at the well at a time. If you're that player, put them on the well and slide it a little closer to you to remind everyone who's in charge. Then we also have schemes. You can play cards from your hand in this step. When you play a card, follow the instructions on it before you play another card. If you can't do all of it, do as much as you can before you move on. You can play as many or as few cards from your hand as you want. You don't have to play any cards. So you can play undead cards to your legion by discarding a bone from your boneyard for each. You can't play undead if you don't have bones in your boneyard. Play minion cards at no cost. They join your legion. Play spell cards, assign each one to your character or a minion in your legion. Place a spell on top of its assigned card. Only one spell per character or minion. Play item cards and attach them to a minion in your legion. They can have as many items as you want. Then we have research. During this step, you draw cards. You can draw mysteriously from the top of the tomb or take cards that you can see from the crypts. Choose one option. Draw the top 2 cards from the tomb, put them in your hand, and put any card from your hand in your boneyard. Or take a face-up card from the crypts, put it in your hand, then put the top card of the tomb face up in the empty spot in the crypts. You must draw a card and the tomb is empty. Shuffle the discard pile to make a new tomb in all its glory. Then each player immediately performs one of the following effects. Draw a card from the tomb, place a card from your hand into the boneyard, sacrifice 1 minion if you have one at the well. Then we have rest. Discard all spells on your character or minions. A few cards have effects that occur during the rest step. If multiple cards with effects happen during this time, you decide what order they happen in. Then check to see if you have a total of 15 or more VP among cards in your legion. If you do, you have attained ultimate power. The mewling simpletons around you have no choice but to fall before your absolute and complete darkness. Revel in your triumph. Okay. So yes, it is designed by Wolfgang Bauer and Jeff Quick. And the artist is Stan with an exclamation point. There you go. So there is a discussion going on. Talk about old school. Now, talk about cheap-ass games. Making a comeback. Honestly, I think this is the second comeback that cheap-ass games has made. All right, here are the character cards. Grand Necromancer Olven. Apprentice Necromancer Molinda. Cultist Iggy Redpants. There's Hubert the Paladin once again. The Black Knights. No card effect can defeat, discard, or otherwise remove the last undead in your legion. It can still be defeated in a raid. Then we got Gravedigger Horatio. Alas, I knew him well. All right. Let's take a look at some of these cards. So here, that one's a blank one. I did receive a promo card from Wolfgang Bauer at Gen Con. So it looks like here are our player aid cards, and then these are 1 VP skeleton cards. So it shows us what the card icons are. Also tells us the turn order. Ah, here we go. So we have Herbert West. Bone to pick. Defeat 1 undead of your choice in the legion with the most undead. In case of a tie, you choose which legion. Victory in my grasp. Choose a minion and an item from the discard pile. Those cards join your legion. No rest for the wicked. Each opponent must discard 1 card from their boneyard. I like this. Or thereabouts. When any player draws a card, you can laugh maniacally to let them draw 1 extra card. That's kind of weird. I guess you would do that for yourself, right? Says any player. We also have reverse turn order at the beginning of each player's turn. You must laugh maniacally or defeat this card's attached minion. So yeah, so we see that's an item, right? Because there's the exclamation points. Don't forget this card has an ongoing effect. What is that? I think, is that the victory point? It might be. I think that is. I think that's what that represents. All right. The Grimoire of the Profane. When the attached minion would be defeated by a card effect, you can say a minced oath such as darn or heck and ignore the defeat. It is still defeated normally in raids. Looks like each of these cards is unique. Holy Symbol, Holy Water, Staff of Supreme Power. This looks like this could be some fun. W4 says they never can forgive Munchkin for driving Steve Jackson Games away from role-playing games and Car Wars. Well, you don't necessarily have to not forgive Munchkin. Don't forgive Steve Jackson Games. They're the ones. Restless Ghost. Yeah, that must be the but you know what? It says -1. It says play this card into an opponent's legion. If this card is defeated, attach it to a minion in your legion instead of putting it in your boneyard. The attached minion attacks. Put one card from the tomb in your boneyard. You can discard this card like an item while attached. That's kind of weird. We do have some multiples here, though. So we got 2 of those. Ogre Zombie. Cursed Mummy. We've got a few different cultists. Well, I shouldn't say a few different. We have a few cultists. Big Dumb Ogre. Some dutiful apprentices. So it looks like these are a lot of minions. Ritual Master, Relic Neophyte, Relic Master. Recruiter Initiate. At the start of your research step, you can take 1 minion from the crypts. And we have Recruit Master. Unwitting Sacrifice. No brainer. Now I think we're going to see our undead. I think we'll have our undead in this deck. So we've got our Skeleton Warrior. Got a few of those. Skeleton Servant. It's a butler. W4 says, didn't Magic the Gathering steal D&D players from role-playing games? You know what? I think you are right. I think you did see that. Because the reality is Magic arrived on the scene at Gen Con, and Gen Con was still mainly, I'd say 70% role-playing game stuff. Skeleton Crew, Fresh Zombie. So now we've got a few multiples, but not a ton. I think I'm actually impressed by the number of like just individual cards we've got in this. Shazama says maybe an alert in the Discord would work better. I got to be honest, I'm not sure how I can do an alert in Discord when I've got a live stream starting. So Shozama85 is popping on in. If you've clicked on the bell icon, you should get the notification. I don't know. I thought now you actually can select like the level of notifications. So you can get notified if there's with any videos. Maybe I'm wrong. Ugly Zombie, Hungry Ghoul. Ooh, that's worth 3. Nameless Ghoul. When this card joins your legion, discard 1 minion in your legion or defeat this card. Dread White. Life Draining. Team Spirit. That's kind of funny. I dig the artwork too. Spirit of Vengefulness. Murderous Phantom. Oh, that is a -4. Yikes. It says play this card into an opponent's legion. If this card is defeated, Attach it to a minion in your legion instead of putting it in your boneyard. If the attached minion attacks or defends, choose and defeat an undead in an opponent's legion. You can discard this card like an item while attached. And we wrap up. We've got Residual Haunt. Nice. So 150 of these cards. Also have some blanks here. We've got the player aid cards. Let's see. How should we put these in here? Will we have enough space? We might. We might have enough. I think we do. Yep. Those go there. Got a little punch board there. We've got our rules. And that is a peek at what we find inside Necromancer. Dig up a few friends. Chris Leonard is asking, how well constructed are the cards? Cardstock felt solid. You know, I didn't take a look to see if they were linen finish. These are not. They are not. But like every card game, I always tell people, sleeve your cards. Any card game that requires any sort of shuffling of cards, just sleeve them. Even if you go and pick up penny sleeves, which, you know, are no longer anywhere near being a penny, but back in the day they were. So. Mammoth says maybe it's just YouTube, but they haven't been receiving notifications lately either. Chris Leonard says they think this game would be a hit at their church games night. Oh, I don't know. Raising the Dead? I don't know. Anyway, once again, Necromancer is out now from our friends over at Kobold Press. The game is for 3 to 5 players, ages 10 and up. Plays in 30 to 60 minutes. Does carry an MSRP of $29.99. Of course, stay tuned. I will have a review of Necromancer in the not too distant future. Gonna have a bunch of videos popping up this weekend. Well, fingers crossed, I'll have quite a few videos popping up. I'm doing some standalone first look videos. Got some reviews. So we've got that. Now, next week on Tuesday's show, we'll be doing our Paizo preview. I am planning on doing a standalone first look at the Starfinder GM Core because I'm expecting that package probably tomorrow or Saturday. So I will do a first look, and then we will also take a quick peek on Tuesday's live show because it'll be our Paizo preview for September, and we will dive on in and take a peek at the various different goodies, including the deluxe Pathfinder Adventure Dawn of the Frogs and the finale of the current adventure path. We're going to get one more adventure path, and that'll be it. That'll be it for Paizo. Then they're going to quarterly hardcovers. Talked about that last night. Then September is going to be Small Publisher September. We're going to take a look at the West Marshes book. That'll be next week. I'm hoping to get maybe a first look video for Fantasy Age 2nd edition. Probably do a standalone. I'm not going to do a live show first look, but because getting a little bit of a, well, I don't want to say that it's a lot of stuff that's backed up, but we are starting to see quite a few items in the queue. So I'm going to be doing some more standalone videos as far as first looks. Chris Lundgren says, love the Pathfinder shirt. Yes, because this is from our sponsor, Misty Mountain Gaming, because they are in the midst of their launch party for their new licensed line for both Pathfinder and Starfinder from Paizo Inc. So they have t-shirts. Last night I wore the hoodie that is available as well. And of course, if you go and visit mistymountaingaming.com prior to September 4th, you can get the pre-order pricing on everything that is part of their new lineup. So you've got hats, you've got dice, notebook and pen sets, this t-shirt, Starfinder t-shirt, the hoodies, so on and so forth. So there's quite a bit there, and you can save on every single item during the launch party. You'll get the pre-order pricing. So pretty sweet, pretty nice. Okay, so that is it for this time out. If you were watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chats, big tip of the cap to you, because not only are you keeping me company, you're also keeping each other company while I'm sharing the news or taking a peek at a board game or card game or flipping through a role-playing game book. You know how it goes. But of course, a lot of folks out there, they don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you kindly for taking time out to watch any of the over 2,300 videos here on the channel. And yes, I mentioned this yesterday, the channel has received, as of last week, over 2.5 million views. So pretty cool. Pretty sweet. Very nice, very nice. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. Enjoy the rest of the week. Have a great weekend. Yes, here in the U.S., it is Labor Day weekend coming up. We're actually going to have some pretty nice weather, I guess, in the Chicago area. So looking forward to that. And, of course, hopefully you'll join me once again next Tuesday evening for the Paizo preview. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, be sure to ring that bell. Even though some folks are saying that ringing the bell's not getting them the notifications. That's a YouTube thing. But if you do subscribe, ring that bell because you'll be notified not only when the Dispatch streams live, hopefully, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube. Also let you know when I share other videos, such as this weekend's upcoming review of the Cypher System starter set from Monty Cook Games. Yes. Once again, thank you very much for watching. I'm Jeff McAleer, and as always, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.